Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit Zabi here, back again with Fade 01, episode 10 of season 2, and in the last episode we had Iri has sort of passed on. We did get a look at sort of like her, her consciousness sort of go into the Holy Grail itself, seeing as she is like sort of like a possible carrier of it, being a homunculus. I don't know if we're going to see her again, or if that was just a sort of like an end to her sort of like her saga, like being enveloped by the Grail itself. But the ley lines that Emiya was talking about, Kyrie has set off some mana bursts at one of the locations. I don't know if it's really been stated as to where. I don't think it's the Tosaka estate. It's not the Enzo-san, because that's where Emiya was. It's not the church, so I'm guessing it's just the center of Fuyuki then. And everyone's been called to that. So yeah, we're going to be coming up to the final battle, and I guess. So I don't think there's anything else to really talk about. We're just going to get in episode 10. So without further ado, let's go. Yeah, like. There's that's just tough. Like when I was I think what's really sort of good about the show is the characters are so different. They have their own thing, and that sort of fight summed up everything that I wanted to expect from Ryder, because he's so like, he's the larger than life one, right? And because he backs himself like so much, and he's sort of like his love for conquest and whatnot, that he will, you know what I mean, that you kind of sum up this image of him like, you know what I mean, like he's always going to come out ahead because he's that larger than life. And that whole scene just takes it away from you. Like, the one thing that you expect from him, like, or you just want him to do, like watching everything crash like around him, that with that fucking noble phantasm, that bloody Gilgamesh, that's nuts, that's crazy. That he knew that he was riding into death, and the one thing that he just wanted to do was be worthy of it. And he was in the end, because he kept going even through getting, pierced with shit and whatnot. But I just wanted him to get a hit on him. Just one. You know what I mean? Like, be able to put up a fight, but... And that's what kind of makes it hard to watch. Especially the fact that, Gilgamesh literally just chains him up before that. And then he's free and open to just be, But I think what like sort of really like sets him apart at the end there is like that, even though a lot of people would consider that to be very, very sly, like a very sly tactic, a very sly move. He never complained about it. He just, he sort of just acknowledged it as like, he kind of just outdid me, and that's it. So I think to probably a lot of people that have seen this show, I can see like Ryder as sort of one of those that sort of has the respect of most people, I'd imagine, as a character. So it's a very tough one to sort of to take, because a lot was riding on that. Like it was a battle of like, it was a one-sided battle pretty much from the get-go. I mean, they clearly stated before the fight that he doesn't have his chariot, So, you know, the stated before the fight, even if he did have his chariot, you know, I guess maybe in some regard, like, he could have put up like a better fight. I guess I still think Gilgamesh would have won because they set that up as well. Like, they set that up so far back when they said, like, I was Tokiomi had basically said that, you know, his Rider's reality marble, his, like, that noble phantasm, like, you know, makes him on par with Gilgamesh, but only if he hadn't revealed it at that point. If it was like something that came out of the blue, but then even then, like, the idea of specifically the words saying, like, oh, if he hadn't have revealed it, you know what I mean, that's what gives the advantage. And at the same time, Archer hadn't revealed his other noble phantasm that basically, I can't remember what it was. It was like an anti-world something that basically destroys everything, like all the surrounding area, like a sort of like with one blow, basically essentially deletes it, destroys it. So one fell swoop, all of his army was gone. It just was a losing battle from the very beginning. It's something that really so done on purpose. The idea is, like, you know, I've been told time and time again, like, this is Fate Zero is the sort of the one where there isn't much happiness in that, like, you know, it's mainly about tragedy, Fate Zero, and like everything comes up. Of course, Carrie as like the main, you know, character for that. Like, I feel like he's more tragic than anybody, but even like down to the way that they have Ryder, the larger than life character, win, like, no, like lose a battle, like in such a one-sided battle, is something that's like, that is so tragic in of itself, because you're so, throughout the whole fucking show, you're like, he's so larger than life. Like, if he was to die, he'd put up a bloody fight. I'm guessing, like, Archer never told Tokiomi about that noble phantasm, but I don't know. I feel like Archer would be one, obviously, to keep stuff up his sleeve, like, you know, like Ryder said, but like, yeah. And then like, even with all of that, like, just from Ryder's character, like, so much sort of like laid out on the line there, like his sort of like pride as a fighter and whatnot. That's just the reason why I want him to get one hit in, you know what I mean? And he didn't even manage that, which makes it tough. But then not even just that, but, you know, having Waver sort of, you know, he's literally just got his reason for sort of, you know what I mean, he's finally got like a friend, and then loses it immediately. More tragedy. I like how at the end as well that the sort of rules changed, and that instead of it being a master and servant thing, it became a king and retainer thing. Like, the sort of the rules had switched, you know. And I sort of love the fact that it was never about master and servant or king and retainer anyway. Those were just, you know, the sort of honour of being given the title of retainer by, you know, Alexander the Great. It's something in of itself. There's honour in that sort of title, but, you know, at the end of the day, it was sort of like the friendship that was the most prevalent there. But I think what really sets this, like I said, you know, like I said before, this show does a real good job of separating the characters so so much. Like, there's so much personality in each of the characters, and Ryder and Waver's sort of relationship, sort of like, again, is just another one of those examples, because none of the other characters could have had that dynamic. There was such like an interesting dynamic between the two, because it's not master and servant for those guys. You know what I mean? It's not that kind of, it's not that way inclined. And then even with like Saber and Berserker and whatnot, the reason why that's such a, that makes so much, you know, well, it's basically the reason why that fight has to happen is because it's Lancelot underneath. I knew it was a fucker. It was something. There was something that would be story driven. As soon as we saw that sort of like, you know, dream state which Carrier was in, and Berserker was saying, I'm the shadow of like, you know, of knights, and you know, and I knew there would be a case of like, either it had to be something that served the story, so it would have to, like, you know, come back to haunt somebody. I didn't know it would be Saber, and if it was Saber, I was thinking maybe there's a case for, like, because the way that Berserker had said in that dream state was like almost like it was plural, like I'm the shadows of fallen, like I'm the shadow of, like, you know, what was it, fallen knights, or basically I think the key word was like knights, meaning multiple, right? So I was thinking, because he doesn't have a specific form, like there's no like character to him, he's sort of like an amalgamation of madness and chaos, that there would be multiple sort of knights in, you know, like in sort of like their worst form. So in my mind I was thinking, as soon as like he pulled it off and was like, oh, we're going to get a reveal here, who's it going to be, my first thought was Lancer, because he specifically, when he died, he specifically like cursed them and whatnot, right? So I thought like maybe there would be a case for like him popping up. I think that would have made a lot of sense. But I think for the sake of like, maybe like, you know, for historical value alone, having Saber go up against Lancelot is a big deal. I was confused because, and I apologize for this because it might have like annoyed some of you, the sort of reaction to that. Like, I remember when she spoke about that. Look at this, man! Fucking sun's coming in. When I spoke about, or when she spoke about like how there was one knight that betrayed her and sort of like left, that Lancelot wasn't that fucking person in my mind for some reason. Like, I know that there was a whole thing with Guinevere and whatnot, but I was so sure it was something else, and I've looked it up and I couldn't find anything on it. So, I mean, I'm guessing it is yeah. So I guess, you know, Lancelot's probably like, you know, the main candidate. I mean, he's the most, you know, when you think of King Arthur, like he's right hand man's Lancelot, yeah. So, you know, it makes sense, and it definitely does hold some, you know, it makes that fight have to happen essentially, which is also bad because, I mean, I don't. I'm honestly, I think they've fucking done this really good. Like, the way that these episodes have like panned out, I'm not even sure anymore, because of the fact that Emi and Saber are so, like, you know, he basically in the last episode said he was alone, but he had Saber, but they never really felt together because their ideals clash with one another. They don't, you know, they're not on the same page. So there's something that almost tells me, like, I had it fucking in my head. It's like, right, well, it's going to be Emi and Kire, and for that to be the case, that means there has to be a showdown between. It's going to have to be Saber and Gilgamesh, right? So I'm thinking, like, right, that's going to be the only two that's going to be left. But it doesn't have to be that way, though, does it? Because you don't have to have a servant with you. I mean, the only problem with that is that Emiya's not going to be able to win again. Like, I would back Emiya versus Kyrie I guess. Because I want that to be the case. Have we ever seen like? We haven't really seen Kyrie really in like hand-to-hand close combat, really, have we? And that seems to be more Kyrie's thing. So I'm not too sure. But like, I would back him against Kyrie, like maybe on a one-on-one fight. But I mean, as of now, Ryder's not in the picture. Emiya's not going to win against Gilgamesh and fucking Kyrie, is he? He's not. Like, that's just not going to happen. So, but the way they've written it in the past, they have this thing where Ryder obviously told Saber and whatnot, like, oh, you didn't lead your people, and therefore, like, this thing with Saber, like with Saber, and then with Lancelot, there could like be a case of like she suffers because of that, and Lancelot is the one to kill her. But there could also be a case for like maybe Saber killing Lancelot, and therefore like she is overcome with like that sort of. I mean, because she's grieving kind of already while fighting, but like it'll obviously ring true a hell of a lot more if she deals the sort of the killing blow on like Lancelot. You know what I mean? Like that's gonna resonate a lot more. So I could probably say I think I have to see that happening. But like I could see it going a way where if Saber does die, you've got Carrier left. He comes in. If he realizes what happened with Kyrie, if he realizes that, then you could have a situation where you have Kyrie and Emiya versus Archer and Kyrie. But if Berserker's alive, that could make it Carrier and Emiya versus Kyrie, whilst Berserker's dealing with Archer. Because remember that those two, like, those two were battling for like a long time at one point. You know what I mean? So you could end up keeping them busy. But I don't know. I mean, I think the way they've written it's been perfect because, I'm unsure of what exactly is going to happen at this point. A while ago, I was like, I get how this is going to work out because it has to work out this way. You know what I mean? Like it has to work out. It has to be Emiya versus Kyrie, right? Which means that it has to be like the servants are going to have to be there as well. Which means Saber has to live, right? But I'm at a point now where I'm not as sure as I was before. So I think they've done a really good job in fucking portraying that. I didn't write down a lot. I'm sorry. Like I feel like I'm sort of overcome in this episode, so I apologize. I wish I had like more to fucking to talk about, but I'm just kind of out of it a bit. This was the first time that I've been like down and I felt shit afterwards after like witnessing Carrier go through stuff and whatnot. But Ryder sort of meeting his end there sort of actually got me to tears. So you might not be able to see them, but like they didn't run. But like my eyes welled up, so it's been the first time the show has, gotten me to leak water. So yeah, I mean, I never gave Ryder a chance because I feel like I just felt if anything was gonna happen. I feel like if especially out of the four that's left. I mean, Wave and Ryder are not going to come out on top, are they? I feel like there's their story was very contained between the two of them, as opposed to like the overarching Holy Grail War itself. They were very much like on the outskirts of it, like they never were truly a part of the Holy Grail War. Really, I feel like they were just kind of their story revolved around those two as opposed to like the other characters. But what's great about Ryder and whatnot is that his sort of like ideals resonates with the characters beyond that, and that becomes an important part in the overarching story. Mainly it's with, you know, the way Saber sees how she led her people and whatnot. So, you know, he's played like a big role in the sort of like the overarching, you know, story, but he himself was more between him and Waver, really. So I thought that the one thing that I think is fairly obvious is that they're not going to come out on top on the Holy Grail War. I mean, I just never thought that would be the case. But yeah, it's a shame, but you know, what I wanted to talk about was actually Gilgamesh there at the end. I did say in the reaction that I actually respect the way Gilgamesh never, you know, he went up to him, he said that, you know, you're his master, right? Waver said, no, I'm his retainer, and I was all to live, so I can't avenge. I'm not allowed to, essentially. And Gilgamesh says, I appreciate like your loyalty and whatnot. You know, and there was something that you don't really get a lot with Archer. I feel like that was like almost the the first real time he sort of like ultimately respected something. So I think on like some level, whilst, you know, Gilgamesh is very, you know, he's very much like out for himself, and like, you know, he still is, to get those kind of moments where, you know, he's sort of respectful, he because Gilgamesh and Alexander were both, you know, they sort of agreed, like they almost agree with each other on how to rule. Yeah, there's differences, sure, but I felt like obviously they had the most going for each other, like similarly. Yeah. So I think he probably knows that, you know, after like, you know, a battle like that and whatever, that he, you know, he has that ability, being a king, to sort of, you know, act like one and be a bit, you know, be a bit honourable at the end of a battle, and allowing them to, you know, to respect that sort of opinion, and you know, and I think the thing that says the most is the fact that Gilgamesh never, like, his face never changed during that interaction. It was very like straight laced, so that you know that he's not lying. You know what I mean? Like, there wasn't a smirk or anything like that beforehand, where Gilgamesh would be known to do that. You know, so I think that was a nice little interaction, even though it was after what had just happened. But yeah, well, that's it. So next set of episodes will be the last two, and then after that it's Unlimited Blade Works. So yeah, really good episode, emotional. But I'll see you all next time. So in the description below I have links to certain things. Discord, get yourself over there. I'm over there. Community's over there. Get yourself involved. SirMonkeySuit, my website, all my content is over there, so get yourself over there. And Patreon. I do have a Patreon. If you do want to support me, that'd be very much appreciated. There's a bunch of different tiers and rewards depending on how much you want to support me with. $5 a month, early access, all the shows I do a week early, and Fate gets 4 episodes every week. $10 a month, that's the full length, so that gives you access to my full length library. Everything I react to gets a full length. $15 exclusive tier, that gives you access to a bonus reaction show, which is going to be 7 Deadly Sins. So by the time this goes out on YouTube, there'll be a bunch of 7 Deadly Sins episodes you can go watch over there. $50, that's the elite tier. Every time you pay that, you get a choice of a show that you want me to react to, and I will react to it. There'll be a bunch of different no, that's not right. There's like 7 shows that'll go behind, yeah. So it might take me a while to get around to it, but if you want to jump the queue and go to the very front and you want to get God tier, which is $100. But that was it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.